everyone, thanks for joining. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into Inbox Monster versus InboxAlly. Now, if you have not come across email deliverability tools and you are a business that's sending out email communications of any kind, I'd recommend having a look into a tool or a software platform like this. Now, it's important to ensure that you're optimizing your emails not only for deliverability but for engagement as well. Now, I've used a lot of tools like this before. I've also sent out campaigns where I didn't use any tools, and I can tell you that this would have been a game changer for me. And I highly recommend having a look at these tools. Now, although that they've got a lot of similarities, there are a lot of differences as well. So it's important to remember what your goals are, what your current stance is on things like your email sender reputation. So that's how email clients like Outlook, Gmail, and many others perceive or see your sender reputation. Now, if this has been damaged in the past, you want to keep that in mind. Perhaps you've been blacklisted, or perhaps you're a brand new business that's never sent out email communications. I would recommend using a tool like this to make sure that you are optimizing every aspect of your email communications from start to finish. Now, in terms of these tools, there are different use cases for these. Now, starting with Inbox Monster, I'd recommend that if you are a creative organization, um, looking at things like not only your email deliverability, but also your email content and how it's optimized. So if you're heavily focused on that, Inbox Monster is going to be a good option for you. However, another use case for, say, InboxAlly would be if you have a damaged email sender reputation, I would recommend looking at InboxAlly, who can actually help you repair that. So do keep in mind that these tools are quite similar, but the key differences are really, really important to remember in terms of the tools itself. Now, as mentioned, if you are a sales and marketing team, perhaps you're a support business that needs to communicate important updates to businesses and business users, using a tool like this is really important. If, say, you're a e-commerce business and you are running an online store, you want to make sure that your customers are receiving your communication successfully, making sure they're getting order updates, that kind of thing. So many different use cases. However, if you're dealing with email of any kind, I'd recommend having a look at tools like this, just to make sure that you're doing this as best as possible. Now, we're going to take a deep dive into Inbox Monster. Unfortunately, they don't have a free trial, so I can't go and log in and give you a little bit of a look and feel around the interface. But they do have an option to book a demo. So I do recommend having a look at that, because for me, a really good tool, especially one of this kind, it's important that you do have a really good, clean interface that's very easy to use, because it's not always that simple. And especially if you've not been in email communications or email marketing yourself, it can be a little bit tricky to use a tool like this. So I do recommend that you contact their team for a demo so that you can get a close peek into this. Now, what's different about Inbox Monster is they've got different, I would say, like suites almost. So I'm going to go straight to pricing. You'll see what I mean. Now, the creative suite itself is specifically focused on things like email rendering, device rendering, which can be really important for you, as well as live previews. However, if you're more focused on deliverability, they've got a specific suite for that. And they've also got one for SMS capability, which is quite cool. I do like this because you can go and look at specific information like deliverability by carrier. You can get a bit of a message analysis, virtualized preview, and a lot of other diagnostics within that. So today I'm just going to be taking you through the deliverability and the creative suite. As mentioned, they don't have a free trial, so we can't really get a look under the hood, so to speak. However, it is really important to consider what, say, the creative suite is really important for. So if we're having a look at this, the creative rendering process is important. Now, I've been both in the receiving end and the sending end of a poorly crafted content within an email. Now, if you think about things like logos that could shift in size, you think about things like links that may be broken and they don't take your users to the right place. This could be critical for your business. So I really do like that they check a lot of this information. So here we can see that you can actually test GIFs and interactivity with live previews, which is really cool. Um, you've got an option to have collaboration across different email content. So this is really cool. Say, for example, if you are sharing, discussing different ideas or making changes in real time, you can collaborate with your team, which is an awesome feature. I do like this, and as mentioned, you do get a lot of like creative rendering in terms of the previews itself. Now, with other tools, generally to get an idea of what it looks like on things like Android, iPhone, Outlook, and like many other devices and uh, platforms itself, you generally have to pay for like a third-party tool. I've used Email and Asset in the past, so that is a tool that just does this. It just does the rendering so that you can see what it looks like across devices. And keep in mind, a lot of people forget to check if you're in a dark or a light mode. It can look very different and things can be distorted. You might lose links to buttons and many other issues that pop up when you have not tested across all different devices, including Android and iPhone, for example, iOS, which is really cool. So I do really like this feature. Really important to have a look at if you've not considered this in the past. And as mentioned, they do check your links for you, which is really cool. So you may not be aware that you're sending out broken links. That might look fine, or it might work fine for you, but not for users, or it may be blocked. So do have a tool like this that can check this for you. You do have full picture diagnostics and things that measure, for example, the content page load speed. So especially with emails across different devices, some of those actually might block data heavy images, especially where you're sending out things like videos or GIFs. It might be too heavy for the device that you are testing across. So you do want to check that it's not giving your users a poor experience. So really cool, really awesome features within this. Fantastic for creative teams. I do like the Creative Suite. I think it's a really full-featured platform. Now, the deliverability part of this, the Deliverability Suite, also really cool. They do tie your metrics together with things like subscriber insights, which is really cool. So it's maybe not just in general insights, but specifically around your subscribers, which is really cool. You can see where your emails land, and a lot of tools that do email deliverability do have what's called inbox placement testing. Now, in this simpler terms, you can see where your emails are landing. Are they landing in promotions? Are they landing in spam? Are they landing in your user inboxes? And this is what you do want to monitor to make sure that you can rectify this if they're going to the wrong place. And they've got a seed list that you can test this with as well. So they've got a sample for that. They do have things like spam traps and block list monitoring, which is really cool. And this is done in real time. So I do like that you can get an idea of any issues as they're happening. It's really important to be proactive when it comes to monitoring things like being blocked, because once your IP, your domain is blocked or blacklisted, it's really difficult to try and repair this. Believe me, I've been there, I know. So you do want to make sure that you are monitoring this. You do want to make sure how the ISPs are seeing you to make sure that you are able to make changes as they occur. Overall, really fantastic. I really like the tool itself. There's a lot of positive user feedback in terms of Inbox Monster itself. I do want to just say that they're on the pricier side, especially if you are needing to combine two of these suites into one. So say, for example, you need deliverability metrics as well as creative rendering. You're looking at immediately like $20,000 a year. So although really feature rich and I really like the tool, it can be quite inaccessible for small organizations or startups who may be a little bit cost conscious. And although I've got limited knowledge of the pricing plans, it doesn't look like it can really scale that much, which is not a huge plus for me. However, there are very few tools like this that do device rendering and creative proofing all in one, that do have options to add on a deliverability or SMS suite in addition to that. But overall, really cool tool to have a look at. I do recommend asking them for a demo if this is something that you're interested in, just because they do have a lot of great options on their tooling. Now, the next one we're going to take a look at is InboxAlly. What is really cool right off the bat is they do have a free option so that you can try this out. I think it's a 10-day free trial, if I'm not mistaken. And they've got a very big focus on repairing your sender reputation. So, for example, you've gone and you have maybe sent out a lot of communications. They were marked as spam or phishing, or they've been blacklisted, or for whatever reason you've had your sender reputation damaged. They can actually help you improve the sender reputation with inbox providers, which is really cool. So you can imagine it's like almost like teaching the sender or inbox providers to trust your domain or your IP again, which is really cool. So as mentioned, this is actually one of the tools that do this really well. And it's one of the tools I've seen that actually offer this as a feature within the platform itself. So I think this is really cool. I love that they do this. They do have a lot of other features within the tool. So keep in mind, in terms of the actual tooling itself, it is a deliverability tool. They do give you inbox placement testing. What I really like is they give you a seed list to work with as well. So as mentioned, that is something that Inbox Monster offers as well. But in terms of InboxAlly, you are able to go and play around with that seed list. You can then go and test out to their seed list. So this is a set number of emails that then are interacted with, they're applied to, they clicked on, so that you can actually get real time monitoring of what a typical user would see and how users would interact with your domain or your IP, to get a good feel of where you stand and kind of what your reputation is. Um, so really, really, really cool. I think that is one of the fantastic toolings that they do have. They do have a spam checker as well. So as mentioned with Inbox Monster, spam checking and um, uh, monitoring of this is really important. So I do recommend using a spam checker so that you've got that information up front. Make sure that you've got your email spam score before sending. So if you haven't rectified this, I would recommend stopping, making sure that your spam score is improved before sending out emails. And they do give you a lot of guidance around this. So they kind of really, I would say, like hold your hand more than some of the other tools that I've used. And it's also one of the really easy tools to use. So I do want to recommend trying out their free trial because it's a guided onboarding process. You don't really kind of have to feel your way clumsily around the tool. It's really straightforward. I found it really easy to use, even though I haven't maybe done email marketing in quite some time. Really easy to get set up and going. So one of the better tools that I've used that do this. They do have an email content test. I do want to recommend using this. Really cool. You can then go and select on alternatives, and it will tell you how many spammy words that you've got. So it would actually give you an idea of what this would look like. You can pick different subject lines. You can ask it to fix your email, and then we'll go and regenerate that for you so that you get an idea of what your improvement is and how to fix it, which is awesome. So like going from X amount of spam words right down to as few as possible. And it's 100% free, which is really cool. So I do like this. And they've got a spam database lookup as well as a email list validator within the tool itself. It does work on a credits basis, so do keep that in mind. But I thought that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life because manually doing this would take hours and hours and hours. Now, if you don't know the list of email addresses that you are sending to, and perhaps you're not too sure what that list looks like, you want to avoid things like duplicate email addresses, incorrect email addresses, ones that are invalid, because if you keep sending them to those email addresses, your content is going to start flagging and you may damage your sender reputation. So I like that they've got a validator within the tool. It fixes your list for you so that you can get a better idea of how that looks. Now, last but not least, one of my favorite features within the tool is the email warm-up planner. Now, as mentioned, if you're a small business, say for example, you've recently acquired a new domain or IP, you cannot go and just start sending out thousands of emails because you will get blocked, you will get spam trapped, and you may even end up being blacklisted, which is really hard to undo. They give you an idea of how many emails you should be sending depending on your reputation. If you're a brand new sender, for example, or if you're an existing sender with a bad reputation, they will give you a warm-up planner to help you warm up your IP or your domain so that you can make sure that you're getting the best out of the tool itself. They do have things like DKIM, SPF checking, all the really important stuff. But overall, just such a cool tool to use. It's got a lot of features, packs a lot of punch. So I do want to recommend having a look at this. And here's actually a list of the features that they do have within the tool. So it is on the website itself. And as mentioned, it gives you a bit of insight into what email warm-up actually entails and what they can offer as part of the process. So really cool. I love this. It's one of the few tools I've seen that do the email warm-up process correctly and give you like a planner. And one of the few tools I've seen that actually gives you like a way to test actual engagement with automated replies that they manage, and just kind of gives you a bit of insight into the tooling itself in a bit more detail. Now, in terms of the pricing itself, a lot more affordable than Inbox Monster. But I will say still not that cheap compared to some of the other email deliverability tools that kind of just focus on email deliverability, but fair pricing considering the features that they do pack within the tool itself. Starting out $149 per month is not bad. It does give you one sender profile. So again, probably a good fit for a small business that just has one person managing this process. You do have email support and you get those 100 seed emails per day, just to keep on testing how you're doing. And you've got options to scale. So again, a better tool for organizations that are looking to scale, that don't know where to start. Recommend trying out the free trial and then going to start and moving your way up through the process. However, if you are a large corporate and you've got thousands and thousands of emails to send to, or multiple lists, or perhaps multiple sender profiles required, they do have an enterprise option that does come with custom pricing, so you can contact them to get an idea of how that works. But overall, really user friendly. I really do like this tool, but also really like Inbox Monster because of the Creative Suite functionality that they do have. Really cool. I wish they offered a free trial so I could have played around with it a bit more. But overall, really fantastic in terms of both tools. So just to wrap it up, I think just make sure that you know what you're looking for in a tool. So depending on which one is going to be the better fit for you will be ultimately up to your goals, what your business is looking for. But just as a quick recap, I would probably say look at InboxAlly if you're looking at things like sender reputation, especially repairing that, as well as email warming. If you are more on the creative side and you're looking at testing and rendering across multiple devices, if you're very heavily focused on the creative aspect of things, I'd recommend having a look at Inbox Monster. Hopefully that gives you something to take a look at if you are looking for a tool like this. Thanks for joining me.